I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and this cute cat is the new pattern in the Funny Faces Quilt Block of the Month Club. So when I say new, it is June 1st, 2023, and this is the pattern that is exclusive to the club all month long. So if you're already in the club, you should have already received an email with a link to download the pattern. If you're not in the club yet, you join anytime in June 2023, this is the pattern that you're going to get instant access to. Here's how to make him. All right, let's make this cute smiling cat. This is the video showing how to do this if you do not have a light box. And in that case, you need to transfer all of the dotted lines that you see on the pattern pieces need to be transferred from the paper side to the front side. And I've done that already. I use a few different things. I use a chalk marker when that will show up on the fabric. If it's a fabric that is too light for that to show up, I will use a pencil. This one was an awkward kind of in between. The chalk pencil didn't show up, but you can see I just use a pencil in here. And if it's a piece where I'm just going to be stitching over the lines or appliquing over them with a solid black fabric where I don't need to worry about black lines showing through, I'll just use a Sharpie. And it doesn't matter, this is a permanent pen, but that doesn't matter because everything, I'm going to stitch over all of these lines with black thread, and so you'll never see that marker even though it is still there. So we're going to start with piece number 1, which is his kind of shoulders, his body piece. It doesn't matter which order you put them in, we're just happening to start with number 1 here. But I do like to start with whatever piece goes off the edge of the block. So I've designed this one to be what I call snapshot style. So you imagine it like you're taking a picture of this cat. He has the rest of his body, it's just not showing in the picture. So you want that to go off the edge of the block. So I line up that straight edge first. And next up, I'm going to put his tail in place because I want to get him centered on this block before I get too many of the smaller, fussier pieces down. So this tail goes very close to his body, and I think that's going to be pretty good. I'm going to maybe shift this over just a little bit. All right, I'm going to put his face in place next because that's actually the widest piece here, and that'll give me an idea of the spacing from side to side there. So I have a line here that I transferred. Once I cover that line up, I know I have the right amount of overlap on this guy. So I think I actually moved him over a little too much. So just a smidge this direction. All right, that looks good. Now that we've got those main pieces in place and the positioning is fine, I'm going to start popping the other pieces in. So first I'm going to do the stripes on his body. So these are all fabrics that I designed, and they're available in my Spoonflower shop. All of these shades of gray are designed to work well together. They are all in the Elephant Blenders collection. All of the fabrics in my Animal Kingdoms palette, which are all kind of realistic animal colors, all of the color names are animal names. So the golden yellows are lion and etc. So now we've got some pieces that go, oops, 3 goes on this side. These stripes down here are broken up with his belly, so it's in 2 pieces. There we go. There is a placement guide. This is going to be really helpful for the tail because all of these stripes are really just look like little rectangles, but they are all numbered, and the placement guide has all the numbers on there, so you can use that to reference if you need help figuring out which piece is which. But now I'm going to put the belly piece on. And this is another gray in that Elephant Blenders collection. I call this one Marbles. This is Marbles, this is Oh Snap, and this is God's Eye. Now let's put his ears in place. So this is piece number 7 goes on this side of his head. And again, I transferred that line at the bottom of that, and I'm going to tuck it behind his head. And once I cover that line, I know I've got good overlap. And then we're going to do the ear on the other side of his head. Same thing. And now he has some lighter inner ears, which you can use or leave off. This is actually a pattern that has a lot of different variety, and at the end of this video I'm going to show you some other versions. But you can use the inner ears or leave them off. You can use the stripes or leave them off. You can use the belly patch or leave it off. There's a lot of different options. There's also a version that has eyelashes, which I thought I was doing on this version, but I must have forgotten. I may go back in and fix that before I do the stitching, before I iron this down. So there's his ears. And now we have his nose. Again, that's gonna just cover up that black marking. And now we have all of the tail stripes, and I transferred the markings on here so I know where to position them. I'm going to start at the top with number 13. There's that. And now we got number 14, so we're just going to work our way down the tail with increasing numbers. So I'm going to show you a version that I did, this is number 15, that instead of having applique on stripes, I used a striped fabric. So that is another option that you have. So here's number 16. This does get a little fussy to put all of these pieces in place, and then it will be a little fussy to outline them too, but not that bad. And I do like having the contrasting patterns. It really adds something different than having just a striped fabric, but I like the striped fabric too, so I wanted to make both options to show you. Almost done with these. And last stripe. Number 19. All right, so I'm going to lift this up very carefully, take it over to my ironing board. I think I'm going to add the eyelashes to this guy, so I'll do that, and then I'll fuse all the pieces down, and then I will bring it back here. I'll do all of the outline stitching, and then I'll bring it back here and show you the finished block, as well as show you a couple of other options I did, both using different fabrics for different color combinations, but also to show you some of the different options of what you can leave in and use or leave out of each of the patterns. All right, here is the finished block, one of the finished blocks. I made 3 different samples that I'm going to show you. This one uses everything in the pattern. It includes the appliqued stripes, it includes the belly patch, it includes the inner ear contrast, and it includes the eyelashes. But you don't have to use all of those pieces. So I just wanted to show you a couple of other options that I made. So this version, I used striped fabric instead of appliquing the stripes on. So it has the inner ears and it has the contrasting tummy. It does not have the eyelashes and it doesn't have any of those stripes. It just uses that striped fabric instead. And I have one more version to show. I decided I wanted to make a Halloween version with a black cat on it. So this one also does not include the contrasting inner ears. I did decide to include a contrasting belly just because I felt like with an all black cat, having a variety of textures was going to be a nice thing to have. But if you did not want to include the belly, I just want to show you that you can cut, this is the piece for the shoulders, and if you decided you did not want to include a contrasting belly patch, you could just cut this across the bottom instead of cutting up in that curve. When I laid out the pattern pieces, there are no pattern pieces tucked up into that belly to save space so that you can cut this piece either way. One other option that I don't show here, obviously you could leave the tail off, but you can also leave the body off. So I did all three of these versions what I call snapshot style, which is where there's a body, you just don't see all of it. But you can also do them emoji style by leaving off the tail and leaving off the body and just floating the head in the middle of the block. So that is another option for the pattern. So there it is, the June 2023 pattern in the Funny Faces Quilt Block of the Month Club. I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World. I'll see you next month.